Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another YouTube video. In this one, I'm actually interviewing one of our successful clients outside of high-level systems. His name is, or inside of high-level systems, really out of high-level systems. His name is Elijah Walker, and Elijah has been able to scale his marketing agency using our concepts of marketing and sales and offer positioning. Really, when he came in, he was doing about $2,000 a month, and he's now grown to about $30,000 a month, and he's now going to be working more closely with our team to scale to 7 figures. But what he's been able to do is really adjust his offer using our offer creation and adjustment process to be able to charge more and actually get his clients more buy-in to his process. And then as well as that, he was able to take our sales ideas and actually help himself sell more and more consistently and with more authority on the phone. And then probably the most important thing is we were able to fill his calendar with sales calls using just basic, organic, free methods that we teach all of our clients. So he was able to fill his calendar, sell better, and get better results for clients, and just fix everything in his business because he came in with a lot of broken mentalities. Like, I remember when he first joined, he was really kind of having a hard time and not really sure what to do, and then he joined and had a lot of clarity. He's been able to scale. So this is gonna be a very cool interview for those of you who have like an e-commerce agency. I know it's a pretty popular niche. And so with that said, enjoy this interview with our client, Elijah. He's been able to do a lot inside of our program, and we're gonna continue to grow our relationship together because we don't just help people grow or get started, but we actually help people scale beyond that as well. We help people actually get to 7 figures with more products and services that we have for people at that level. So enjoy this interview with Elijah. A lot of fun working with him. Welcome to the channel.
Okay, Mr. Walker, dude, welcome to the channel. Congrats on your success, man.
Thank you. I actually really appreciate it.
Absolutely,
it's
dude.
definitely been a journey.
It's been a lot of fun watching you, man. I remember when you first joined the program, and I mean, you can tell the story better than I can. Obviously, I recorded a separate intro for this, but kind of walk people through what you've been able to experience, what the growth has looked like, and just some of the key lessons that you've learned along the way that allowed you to make such a jump. Because I know a lot of people, dude. And I love this industry. Like, I really do care a lot about what we do. And I see so many people stuck at where you were stuck when you joined. So I'd love if you just tell your story and explain kind of what happened.
Yeah. So I'd say fast forward to January-ish. Obviously, we got in contact around February. I want to say around February area.
Yeah.
But prior to that, January, I think that month I probably cleared, it was somewhere either between $2,000 to $4,500 in revenue for like the entire month of January.
Yeah.
And fast forward, last month we cleared almost 27,000, which
That's awesome.
In that time period is pretty cool because just seeing like how it sort of scaled over time. But there's a lot that really goes into it. And I'd say it really boils down to just a couple of, factors that were monumental to me that obviously I just, learned just being exposed to you in the community is really focusing on the principle of things instead of like how shiny it is or, how glamorous it looks. Like, even this interview, right? I'm not in an office, you're not in an office, but we're still getting it done.
I'm so glad you bring that up, dude. Like, I hope people respect this. I showed you this before we started recording. I'm literally in Colorado right now with my girlfriend and her family. We're on a road trip, and I'm like, I can't skip this because me and Elijah already had to reschedule this interview. And I'm like, I'm not missing this, dude. I will literally come off the hiking trail, come to the parking lot, sit in my computer with my hotspot and do this interview. So yeah. Dude, it's pretty crazy, and it's not glamorous at all. It's really not.
Yeah. And like that right there is an accurate representation of like what I mean, where it's like not focusing on just looking super sexy or, trying to make it packaged in this like super glamorous way. It's really just the principle of what it actually is, right?
What are those principles? What do you mean? Like, explain that to the viewer.
Yeah. So in pretty much every area, right? Let's say it's your, offer, for example, like instead of like decking out your profiles and like tweaking, oh, we help do this, scale to this, and like getting super, super specific and mapping out every single thing, actually make sure that you have an offer, that genuinely helps people to get results and get from here to there. And that stuff, comes afterwards, right? Instead of trying to build the, the glamorous stuff and then fixing the internal, what you've got going on, that's pretty much the principle. And that's just one example. That could work for, there's a plane, of course, but just gonna give it a second to pass by.
Dude, don't worry, man. This is one of the toppiest interviews I think I've ever done, because literally, like, I'm not even kidding. I hope this doesn't sound like I don't check my calendar, but like, I had like 2 calls today. I had like 1 consult with a guy that like really wanted to get started for 1-to-1. He paid in full, which is great. And I have you today, and like we're on the trail, and like I get the Google Calendar notification. I'm like, frick, I gotta like run back to the car. So like, yeah, dude, like, don't worry about it, man. I'm not judging you at all.
Yeah, it's completely fine. And like, yeah, I'd say that was one of the largest principles that were just super monumental to me, because it slowed me down a bit, trying to make sure everything was perfect and trying to, I need to do this and that. Like, at the end of the day, I need to get in front of more people, have more conversations, book more calls. And that's really what matters, right? Because more calls leads to more clients. And I was focusing on everything else instead of that. So the principle.
Dude, I think most people are. I think really most people are, like, they're really distracted, right? Like, especially when they've already got proof of concept, they've already sold a few offers. They're like, okay, now I need like, Asana, and I need like, good Zapier frickin' things, and I need like all this fancy back end stuff. And like,
yeah,
like from my personal experience, we scheduled like $100,000 a month, like before we hired an operations guy. So like, I just now hired an operations guy to manage clients and manage everything. And like, but we were getting results. Some to the untrained ear that might hear like, oh, like you don't care about your process. No, I really do, but I just didn't need all the fancy stuff until I needed the fancy stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Literally what I'm saying. Like, even, just being inside of the program, obviously we can see what's being, teach, what's being enforced, what's being said, hey, do this. Obviously, I can see what's going on. And then just seeing the external, even just to use the example of, your program, right? There's no, at least at the time, there was no super sick like funnel built out for the, the program. There's not this super sick website and like this VSL and like all these fancy things like at the time, and you were still killing it with the business. And that to me just spoke volumes. It's like, you don't need to, go get this X off this, or, go get this and go buy that super expensive camera and go do all these million and different things. Build your business, actually solve a problem, help people to get results, and then stuff follows. So let's
get really specific. What were some things that you were distracted with at that 2,000 to 4,000 a month level that we helped you not get distracted with, and what did you replace it with? Like, what was the distraction? How'd you identify it and get rid of it, and what'd you replace it with?
Yeah, so one thing in particular, I know I mentioned it, like, trying to make a super sick profile. I was doing that, and I wasn't even reaching out on social media, which like there was zero outreach going on that involved my social media profiles, like LinkedIn, Facebook, etc. I wasn't even touching those, but I was still trying to make sure that they were super sick, which is a waste of time because it didn't really contribute to how I was getting meetings. Like at the time, I had zero social media presence for the business, and I was still getting clients. Like I had 2 in January. And then I had closed, some before that. So, obviously I closed clients without a social media profile. I'm like, maybe it can be easier if I make my profile super sick instead of, fixing the internal problems, which is, what am I selling? What problem do I solve? What is my business? Like, who do we help? Instead of focusing on those areas, I was trying to build the latest and greatest profile. So that's one thing. I was sending Loom videos as like outreach, which is 1-to-1. It's very hard to scale that, at least in terms of like my knowledge at the time. It's like, how do I scale this? How do I, grow the business based on what I'm doing? So I was getting super locked into like one specific thing that I didn't see anyone else winning with, which is pretty important because I can't really ask anyone for help. Where it's like, hey, are you, if you're sending Looms and you're getting X amount of clients, you're earning X amount of dollars per month with your business. Okay, awesome. You're sending Looms too. Let me get help from you. I didn't really have access to anyone who was doing that. So I was trying to like figure that out, which is another distraction, trying to figure everything out myself, which is just wasted a ton of time. and specifically with that. So I apologize if that's all over the place, but those are just sort of things that were going through my head at
Those are the distractions.
a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what'd you replace it with?
Well, one, I got help. So,
Yeah.
which just speeds up the process. And it sort of, if you're like me and you kind of want the easier route, it's always easier to just get help, because especially from someone who's doing what you want to do and is where you're at, the easiest route is just to get help from them. And for some reason that just wasn't clicking in my head. So that's one super simple thing that I just fixing that eliminated everything else, to be honest. Just getting help. And not only that, but it changed my mindset. What's actually important? How do you push the needle, etc. So that right there, all of the distractions and all of these questions that didn't really matter, I replaced it with getting help. First, finding out where it is exactly that I want to be, see who's actually there, filter through the noise of people who maybe pose as they're there, etc. Who's actually there or much higher, and get help from them. And that literally fixed everything else, to be honest, at least in my specific journey.
Yeah, right, dude. Well, it's a really cool jump, man. Like, you really did pretty much 10x your business, like from 2000 2 to 4 to be fair, but like 2000 to like, almost 30,000, like 27,000 a month. Like, that's a pretty sweet jump. Like, what has it felt like for you?
Well, there's, to be frank, pretty stressful. At least, originally, because obviously at the time I had 2 clients. So there's not really, too much going on managing 2 clients, especially because I had a team member who pretty much took care of service delivery. So
Right.
I didn't really have to do much internally. What that looks like when you're, working with 13 clients, that looks a lot different. So that was pretty stressful, just, learning systems, investing in just, a team individual who has the systems that I want in place, and implementing those for myself. At first, I tried to figure it out, but then realized, hey, the easiest route is literally find someone who's where you want to be and then get help. So that's what I did, incorporated those systems. Once that was taken care of, which is still in the process now, to be honest, it feels pretty good because, I identified where it is exactly I want to be and got help, got there. So it feels pretty good, but the stressful aspect, which is obviously what gets you to where you're at, is not going to be what gets you to the next level. And what goes on at this level of where you were at is not what's going to be going on at the next level. So it's pretty much adjusting.
What's the stressful element? Is it just like managing all the new clients?
Oh, I couldn't quite hear that. What was that?
What's the stressful element? Is it just managing new clients?
I say it was the adjustment from not having much going on to actually having stuff going on.
Actually having an actual business running, right? Yeah.
Literally, yeah.
I think a lot of people, unfortunately, they may not realize it in themselves, but they'll start to push, and then they sense that resistance, the stress that you're experiencing, and they feel like that resistance is a sign that they shouldn't push harder, But no, so stupid. Like, you have to push further and fix those problems along the way. So, like, how many clients do you have now? You had 2. You have how many now?
I think so. Agency clients who were running their ads, it's 15 right now.
That's awesome. Any other sorts of clients in there besides like running their ads, and anything more like custom?
Yep. So there's consulting, which, I don't personally do myself. It's my team member, but it's like one-on-one consulting. We're actually transitioning to more a group setting coaching, just because obviously at this point we have people in the consulting to fit group consulting.
Yep.
You can't do group consulting if there's only one person. So, we're at that level where we have a few. So going to be transitioning to that. I think in total, it's probably less than 20. I think 19. I have to be specific because, 2 of them, we actually don't work with anymore. It was a program. So
gotcha. It's like 15 to 19 clients, some of them consulting, most of them done for you through your agency.
Yes.
Cool.
Yep.
Cool. Dude, that's awesome, man. That's really cool. I wasn't aware that you had that huge of a jump of clients. And all these guys were just organically prospect, right? Like, you just found them through how we show you, or did you do anything like special?
Yeah, so it's actually a really funny story.
Hmm.
Everything that you guys showed, I probably did 5% or 10% of it. Like at least in terms of the outreach method, in terms of the principle of it, I was doing it, but I wasn't actually doing it all the way correctly, and it still converted for me, which is super, super important. It's kind of hot out here, but it was
It is for
just
me too,
pretty.
man. It's like 80 degrees in this car right now.
I don't know what the temp is out here, but it's really hot, and there's like a period of time with no wind. But like
Yeah.
for me specifically, it's just interesting because it's like if I only implemented this small percentage of what works, imagine if I do it all the way. And that's what excited me because I didn't actually implement it all the way. I'd say a bit now, it's more on the line of strictly what's taught, but originally it wasn't, actually the method 100% that was taught, and it still worked, right? So to answer your question, there's that, just the method of what's taught in the program. And outside of that, just staying in front of the warmest leads, just the people who are most likely to actually work with me. Those were the two main methods via just limbless automated email, to be honest.
Gotcha, dude. I love it. So you kind of took like the principle of what we showed you of like organic, and you're just like, all right, like let me actually fix my processes. Because it's like there's a way to approach any prospecting process that you learned, and then took that process of how to approach it and applied it to what you were doing, so you did it better, is what you're saying.
1000%. Because what I was doing before, literally as soon as I, joined the program, joined the community, that's when it was just a shift. And in the processes that I already had, in addition to the processes that I was introduced to with the program. So it's like basically what you just said, Trey, taking the principles of what's taught with the organic method, applying that to what I was already doing, and implementing what's taught. So those two things working at the same time is really what contributed to me growing so much, to be honest, in, that time period.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I feel like that's the first thing I've heard that articulated, because I think people will come in and like, oh, like I do ads, or oh, I do email, or oh, I do organic, or it's like it's all the same. It's just like KPI driven, numbers driven decision making, knowing what it costs to get a call, testing different angles and doubling down on the ones that work. And it's like it's the same iterative process for any prospecting. And I think a lot of people get too stuck in the specific tool or the method or like the platform, and they don't really focus enough on like the numbers. And I think maybe that was the shift we made for you, is like, look, Elijah, like you've got something that works, like why aren't you just doing this to scale it, and why don't you just try this? And even if somebody doesn't have something that works, often it's because they've tried 6 or 7 things but only tried it for like 2 days and then wrote it off.
Yeah.
That's what I've seen for a lot of people. It's just like a quick test, and then it doesn't work for them, and then just write it off.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
that's a huge factor here, because I definitely didn't know my numbers. I'd like to say a general idea. I did not map it out. I didn't understand, okay, it takes this to get this, result. I didn't map that out because honestly, once you do that, it becomes very simple what to do. And
Yeah.
I didn't do that. And that right there just changed the game for literally everything I did after that, to be honest.
That's awesome, dude. It is very simple. Like I think that's something that you demonstrated very well to the rest of our community, and I would use you as an example, like on group calls. Be like, look, like just like here's the difference between knowing your numbers and not knowing your numbers. I almost feel like that's your story. It's like the difference between knowing your numbers and not knowing your numbers is like 2,000 a month or 27,000 a month. Like that's
Yeah.
the difference.
Honestly.
And scaling. Like where do you think you could be by the end of the year at the rate that you're at? Where do you think you guys could make it? What's your goal?
On like a low bar, I'd say 50,000 a month. Definitely.
You guys are trying to scale to $1 million a year, I bet, right?
100%. That's obviously, the a loose goal, but in terms of like a specific number that I personally want to hit, 50,000 per month is, the attainable number. Honestly, it's a very feasible goal, to say the least, but I'd say that's a minimum sort of place that we can be at before the end of the year, which is 6 months away, so it's definitely possible.
Oh yeah, if you could 10x in 6 months, you can you can double in 6 months.
Yeah, and I was literally starting from a blank slate. So starting from a blank slate to 10x, that's pretty cool. But then the 10x again, it's obviously, at least I believe, just seeing where different people are, in the space, at that point, there's not too many new things to implement or to, add on to your plate to scale to a number like that. Just from what I've seen versus, what, $2,000 a month, you have to change a lot to get to, let's say, 25,000 a month. But getting 25 to 30 or, 25 to 40, whatever, it's not like you're changing your entire business model to scale.
Yeah. No, definitely. I agree with that. Like, the things that I was doing at 25 to 30,000 a month are the same things I'm doing now. It's just I got hungrier and built a better back end. Like, honestly, that was it. Like,
Got it.
That's the only difference. Like right now, like just don't ever feel like you've made it. Right? Like 20,000 a month is just not that cool. 100,000.
Like, yeah.
I see it and I'm just like, whatever. Like, it's just numbers. It's like 3,300 a day, right? It's like,
yeah.
Yeah.
Honest, like, it's actually really cool that you said that, because as soon as I technically hit, it's really funny. I didn't pay attention to hitting the goal the entire month of June, actually, like at all. Like, it was really paying attention to those, like literally paying attention to those numbers. I previously, in January, February-ish, just at the lower numbers, I still had like a 45% close rate just because I had a certain call structure. So it's like, okay, how do I get more volume in and still retain that close rate? Last month, the 27K, 50% close rate, and all I had was just more calls. I think it was for 30 something calls or something like that. But I have to look back at the numbers, but it's literally just looking at the numbers. Okay, I need to aggressively get this amount of calls. And that's literally what it was. I didn't pay attention to, I really want to hit this number. How am I going to do it? I know my numbers. I know what I need to hit in order to reach X amount of dollars. Let's aggressively focus on getting more volume in so we can fix that. And that's literally what it was. I didn't pay attention to the end goal.
The spreadsheet and just been like, all right, like I just have to do this, right?
Pretty simple.
Yeah, dude.
Literally just took what you guys gave me and just plugged it in.
I love it.
Much.
I love it. That's a great story, man. That's really cool. So you're wanting to get to $1 million a year. When?
By, I'd say start of next year. Honestly, it's not like an aggressive focus for me personally. For me, 50,000
focus.
Yeah, that to me is the number where it's like, okay, I'm gonna hit this. Like, same thing, for I think if you remember, 25 a month was my specific number. It's like, okay, I'm gonna hit this.
Yep.
Now I hit it. Now it's okay. 50 is my specific goal, so I'm gonna be aggressively trying to hit this. $1 million, I'd say, what is that, 80-ish, $83,000 a month?
Yeah.
Definitely by start of next year, for sure.
Yeah, dude. And if you're doing 100,000 a month, you're doing $1 million a year profit, like with your model. And especially if you transition further to consulting, like you could be doing $1 million a year profit easily, dude. Like if you continue to know your numbers and eliminate the bottleneck of like audience size and influence. I mean, what's the price of your offer right now? How much do you guys sell it for in terms of like the agency and the consulting?
So those are two different answers. For the consulting, it's either 2,000 or 1,500, and then for 8 calls, and just our structure for that.
Yeah.
And then for the done for you, on average it's 2,500. But some higher, some lower. But I'd say on average 2,200, 2,500 probably.
Dude,
on average.
I just need to show you some tricks. Like, I could help you sell your exact same service for like double the price, like easily. Like, I just need to, when we're recording, I'll just run you through some stuff that we've learned the hard way. Yeah, man.
Dude, I'm all ears, honestly.
Yeah,
like, I'm all ears.
Dude, you're killing it, man. I'm really proud of you. Seriously, like it was really cool. I remember when you first joined the program, and just like I could tell that you were serious. Like, there's people that just throw money our way and just like are like, all right, now and they're kind of half in, half out. But when you're like Elijah and you hop in and you're very serious about making the changes you want to make, very serious about following what we're telling you to do, and serious about getting to your goals, and like the path almost makes itself clear, dependent on how serious you are. Like if you're not serious, it's not going to make itself clear because you're not actually asking for it. But if you're serious and you've decided this is where I'm going to get and I'm gonna do it, and you make that internal shift to like focus your attention and life on it, it will happen. And I'm glad that we could be an aid in getting you there, dude. I mean, I know you inevitably probably could have done it yourself, but I'm happy we could pick up that pace, make it faster, make it more certain, and even help you
Yeah.
see a million, dude. I'd love to continue to work with you and help you get to that level.
100%. That's actually my goal because, you know, I, done with you is what I want to transition to. Just, I'd say 100%. I don't want to just lose, the focus for done for you because I personally like the structure. But done with you, obviously, it from what I see, just yourself, other individuals, it just seems far more scalable just in terms of, getting from here to here and the structure in the back end that comes with it. Like obviously scaling, done for you, there were so many things that I had to change internally just to support that scale.
Yep.
So
I
I
know
want to
more
transition to
companies-
that.
I know more companies doing done with you, like a hybrid coaching and giving templates and et cetera
Yeah.
model. I know more companies there doing $1 million a month than I do agencies by far.
Same.
Far. Yeah. So it's
Same.
so much more skill. You can impact people so much more too. I think people have this idea that like, oh, done for you, obviously you have more impact because you're actually doing things for them. But like, no, you don't understand. Like, if you can get somebody to think the right way and make decisions the way they need to make decisions, dude, you've changed their life forever. It's not about just the done for you templates and like setting up their ads a certain way. No, it's like if you're a Facebook ads done for you, you now have to show people how to think about ads, how to write decent copy, and how to adjust their business model to support the influx of traffic that ads creates. And then now you're an extremely influential, probably more influential than you would be as an agency owner, in my opinion.
And honestly, that it's going to be the focus. Like I said, I want to transition to, if not 100%, 80% done with you. And that being said, I'm actually putting some things together right now to actually make that a reality.
Awesome.
That'll
get you to $1 million.
And I 100% believe it because at the end of the day, like you just mentioned, I see more companies doing, if it's 500,000, $1 million, X amount per month. I see more companies doing these high numbers per month with a done with you structure than done for you. So it's no brainer. That's where I need to transition. And that's, what's coming from it right now. But I also want to say one more thing. Literally every single thing in the program, I didn't even implement 100%, but everything in the program, just literally copy paste it into what you're doing. And it just works because that's literally what I did. And I keep saying this not to sound braggy or anything like that, but I didn't even implement it to the fullest extent and it still worked. So like there's a no-brainer that, what's taught works, obviously.
Cool. I love that, man. Thanks for the shout. Well, it's a cool story, dude. 2,000 to 27,000 by focusing yourself on the things that matter and eliminating distractions and actually doubling down on making more offers and just doing what we tell you to do. And then you want to just go from here to 50 by just, maybe raising your prices a little bit, adjusting the back end a bit, and just pushing harder with marketing. And you like to scale to $1 million by going to done with you. Does that feel like a good way to summarize your story?
Sounds pretty simple, actually. Yeah, that's 100%, a summary of my personal journey. Yeah.
I love it, dude. Well, it's a great interview, man. I appreciate your time. We'll do a little chatting after I end the recording here, but I just appreciate you coming onto the channel and sharing what can happen when, you get the right help from the right people and just, follow through. Like, when I get help as well, like I've invested like 150 grand into education and mentors and coaching and whatever. I'm the same way, dude. Like I have to just do what they say. Like I'm just going to buy the thing and then just do what they say. And I'm going to have a great attitude about all of it and just follow through. And like it works.
Yeah, it's the easiest thing.
Yeah, like honestly, weirdly easy. So I hope that a lot of the story can like show that. So I appreciate you, dude. Thanks for coming on the channel, man.
I love it. Thanks for having me and having the chat. I love it.
Absolutely, dude. Well, we'll do another update interview when you have $1 million about a year from now. How about that?
Let's do it for sure.
Go, man.